Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic podcast. This is Worth the Risk, Part 6, Altarpiece. Natalie winced and covered her eyes. Whoa, way too much light. Raven agreed. That does hurt. The sun hung high in the sky and the temperature had risen considerably. People were enjoying coffee and wine on the outdoor patios of the cafes and restaurants around the square. It feels like past lunchtime to me, Raven said, squinting. But I guess it's only 11 or so? 10 past 11. Natalie confirmed, reading the clock on the belfry. We were inside the cathedral for over an hour. I would have loved to stay longer, Raven said. But it was weird walking around once Mass had started. Natalie nodded in agreement and waved Raven along. They walked across the square at a leisurely pace. There weren't that many worshippers, though, Raven added. Natalie shook her head. No, it's mostly elderly people and tourists. That's kind of sad, Raven said. She turned and looked back up at the single, tall tower in yellowish stone. Natalie followed her gaze. She's beautiful, isn't she? She said softly. You can see the cathedral when you approach Ghent from the highway. I feel like I'm home as soon as I see it. Raven nodded. I feel the same way when I see the Atlanta skyline. Is it beautiful too? Natalie asked, making a mental note to look up a picture of Atlanta later. Not like this, Raven said and gestured at the old buildings surrounding the square. But it has its charm too. Is it worth a visit? Natalie asked innocently, readjusting her face mask. Raven arched an eyebrow. Of course it is. Natalie started walking again. Maybe I should visit someday then. You should, Raven said, catching up with her. I could show you around. It's very different from your city. I like going to different places, Natalie replied. Plus, I'm getting kind of curious to see your city. Oh yeah? Why is that? Raven asked, sounding intrigued. Natalie was tempted to tell Raven why she was so interested in everything Raven was willing to share with her. But her hands were getting clammy and she ended up changing the subject instead. What did you like most about our cathedral? A few seconds passed before Raven answered. I loved the painting. The Ghent altarpiece? I can't believe part of it is fake. Natalie chuckled, relieved Raven was going along with the change of subject. No one would know the difference if we didn't tell them it was fake. Laughing, Raven replied, True. And I guess tourists wouldn't pay to see an altarpiece without all of its panels. She shook her head. I just can't believe you never caught the guy who stole it. It's been almost 100 years. We're still trying, Natalie said, gesturing at the ground. I don't think a year goes by without the police digging up something, hoping it's the missing panel. Really? Raven laughed again. Yes, Natalie beamed, encouraged by Raven's laughter. I doubt we will ever give up. It kind of has become local lore now. Personally, I think the panel is hanging in someone's living room right here in Ghent. Oh my God, Raven answered, eyes wide. You think the descendants of the original thief still have it? Exactly, Natalie replied, nodding a few times. They would have to hide it from visitors, of course. Maybe they have a little curtain to cover it up, she joked. Raven giggled. Honey, she said dramatically, tapping Natalie's shoulders. Quick, someone's at the door. Hide the altarpiece. Natalie laughed. She waved her arms, pretending to close a curtain in a hurry. Damn it, I told you not to FaceTime with your friends when the curtain is open, she said, playing along. They laughed together, and Natalie felt lighter than she had in a long time. Oh my God, Raven sighed happily. You're so goofy. Hey, you started it. Natalie grinned back. They now stood on the square that surrounded the famous city pavilion. Its modern architecture usually stunned visitors, but Raven's eyes were fixed on Natalie. They were filled with laughter. Ever since they had left Natalie's house, their conversation had been flowing as if they had been friends for years. There hadn't been a single moment of uncomfortable silence. During their quick stop at the coffee place, Raven had asked Natalie a million questions about Ghent. Natalie had answered them all with great enthusiasm, happy to tell Raven all about the city she was born and raised in. She, too, had many questions she wanted to ask Raven, but she hadn't gotten the chance yet. There was too much to see in Ghent. On their way to the cathedral, Raven had kept pointing at things to ask about them. Inside the church, talking was frowned upon. Raven and Natalie had walked around together, communicating in excited gestures and whispers. Natalie honestly couldn't remember ever having so much fun in a church. Now that they were back outside, she was eager to get to know Raven better. She had a feeling they would need to take a break from sightseeing if she wanted that to happen. Luckily, it had been a few hours since they had had breakfast. "Hey, I'm getting hungry, are you?" Natalie asked, still holding Raven's gaze. "Yeah," Raven nodded slowly. "I guess I could eat something." Natalie smiled, happy that Raven wanted to spend more time together. "Anything specific you'd like to try?" Raven looked around. There were a few restaurants near the square that had outdoor patios. "Those look pretty touristy," she said. "I'd love to eat where the locals eat." "You're right about the tourist traps," Natalie replied, grabbing her phone. "Okay, so no tourists. Any other preferences, ma'am?" she teased. "I would love to see another favorite spot of yours," Raven said sincerely. "I like that coffee place very much." Natalie's heart skipped a beat. The request was innocent enough in itself, but Natalie felt like there was more to it, and she was more than eager to sit down for a while in a cozy spot with Raven. "I think I know just the place," Natalie said and started scrolling through the numbers listed on her phone. "This is really nice," Raven said, stuffing her mask in a side pocket. Natalie tucked her phone away in her front pocket. "It's been a while since I've been here. Every time I have lunch or dinner here, I tell myself to visit more often. It's such a nice outdoor patio, isn't it?" "It really is," Raven agreed, smiling as she turned in her seat. The restaurant's patio was in a courtyard surrounded by tall houses. The only way in or out was by walking through the restaurant's hallway. "Is that a boat hanging upside down?" Raven asked, pointing at a wooden structure in the middle of the courtyard. "Yeah, I think it is," Natalie replied, tilting her head so she could see more of the boat. Part of it was overgrown with plants, giving the construction a bit of a dystopian feel. She had never really paid much attention to the work of art. Raven shook her head in disbelief and grinned. "You guys have these amazing outdoor places everywhere. I love it." "We love to sit and eat outside," Natalie explained, leaning back. "We definitely had no trouble adjusting to outdoor dining when COVID hit." "I can see that," Raven chuckled. Natalie's eyes followed one of the waiters as he walked to another table across the courtyard. A tray filled with tall glasses rested on his fingertips. "I think I see our drinks over there," she said. Raven looked surprised. "That's fast." She picked up the menu in front of her. "I guess I better decide what to eat." It only took a few seconds before she lowered the sheet. "Okay, you're going to have to translate." "I can ask for an English menu," Natalie replied. Raven's eyes widened. "No, don't do that. I don't want to be one of those annoying tourists." Natalie moved to the edge of her seat. She was tempted to cover Raven's hand on the table. "You're not. You're already an honorary local," Right, Raven said, taking off the baseball cap Natalie had given her. She ran her fingers over the embroidered logo. I am undercover. The waiter arrived at their table and placed 2 large, colorful glasses in front of them.
Thank you.
They had ordered the same drink with pineapple and coconut cream.
De Virgin Coladas,
he said.
Ik kom zo terug om uw bestelling op te nemen. Merci.
Natalie smiled up at him.
Geen haast, we moeten nog kiezen.
He nodded and left to serve the next table. I told him not to hurry, Natalie explained. Raven picked up one of the glasses. Good, because I want to enjoy this first. Natalie lifted the other glass in the air. Skål. I can't pronounce that. Not even going to try, actually. Cheers.
Cheers.
Natalie laughed, bringing the mocktail to her lips. Their gazes held again as they sipped from the sweet drink. That's good, Raven hummed, flicking her tongue over her lips. Yeah, Natalie replied, instantly unable to say anything coherent. Feeling slightly panicked, Natalie realized that this crush of hers was getting bigger fast. Even when she tried to keep things light and innocent, these intense moments kept happening. Again, Natalie wondered if Raven was feeling all of this too. Did she sense all this electricity in the air? Or was it just in Natalie's head? How insane was Natalie for experiencing all of this after meeting Raven less than 24 hours ago? In a way, she just wanted to ask Raven if she felt it too. She would have to consider her words carefully, of course. If she was too direct, things could get really uncomfortable. If she wasn't direct enough, she wouldn't get an answer. Natalie just wasn't sure what was most uncomfortable. Going out on a limb and put into words what she was experiencing? Or keeping her mouth shut and continue to wonder if she was imagining things? If Natalie was, in fact, going to ask Raven, now would be a good time. Raven raised her glass to her lips and took a slow sip with her eyes still fixed on Natalie. It sent a jolt of electricity down Natalie's spine. She swallowed and tightened her grip on her drink. You know, Natalie said, her voice a little breathy. It's weird. Raven quirked an eyebrow. What is? Natalie put down her glass on the table. Well, I hardly know you, but I feel like...
Hebben jullie gekozen, dames?
The waiter asked cheerily, popping up next to their table way too soon. This was part 6 of Worth the Risk. I'm taking a short break to catch my breath after this episode. The next episode of Worth the Risk will be out in 3 weeks instead of 2. Keep an eye on your podcast player on Tuesday, February 23rd, or check out the website for early access. Thank you so much to all the fellow romantics who helped me create this story. Your financial support keeps this podcast going, and for that, I am so grateful to you. All right, that is all for this week. Thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you soon.